Welcome. Monday morning, Algebra 3. Hope everyone had a good weekend. I had an interesting weekend. Well, I made it to the movies this week. Saw Beetlejuice, I guess. Or have I said that three times now? But yeah, the sequel after like 40 years or whatever, it's been a long time. It came out and it was good. I enjoyed it a lot. So if you like the first one, you should like the second one. If you haven't seen the first one, you should Netflix it or whatever streaming it's on. I don't know. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. So, is that a real one?
It's a real fire drill.
Oh, we got a real fire drill. All right, guys, I'm going to be back in 5 minutes. Don't go anywhere. So, hold on. Fire drill. Okay, I survived the fire. I feel a little smoky, but they got it out quickly. We're back in. No, it was just a fire drill. So everybody come back into class. Turn your cameras back on. We're not going to be here long today. So there was actually a good day for a fire drill for us because this isn't going to take very long. But yeah, all the assignments, not the test, all the assignments should allow you to retake it already. It should be set where you can go back in. I think it's like 3 attempts. And if you run out of attempts and still need to retake it, then get with me and we can talk about and see what you keep missing. Why do you need to take it more than 3 times? Because there's something obviously you don't understand. But even on tests, yes, if you bomb a test, get with me. We'll look and see what you're missing, and I can open it up again and allow retakes. Absolutely. Okay. I do. So, that being said, let's go look at what we hold this week. Now that we survived the fire. All right, here we go. So looking at first period in Buzz, always go to the grade screen, start there just so we can see. Let's see, we had the quiz was due yesterday along with 2 assignments. This was all a review. This whole first module was just review. So you should have everything turned in through the 1.06 comparing functions. If not, you still have time, go ahead and get it done. But this week we have the practice test and our end of unit test. So the practice test counts as a practice grade. It should be set to allow you to take it 100 times. If you want to take the practice test 100 times, you can take the practice 100 times. But otherwise, we have part 1 and part 2 of the test. So we're going to look at that this morning. Let's go back to the activities screen. So if we go down to the module 1, this is just the instruction page. It just says make sure you review everything we looked at. So there's really nothing to say. It just has like summaries. This was like the lesson summaries for each of those. We want to say intro to functions. You can click on that and it has the lesson summary from intro to functions. So this is just a nice review page. And then the practice test. We'll look at the practice test. Practice test instructions. So here's the practice test. And it has usually a lot more questions than the test has. So don't look at the practice test and go, oh my heavens, this test is going to be huge. No, the practice test has more problems than you need. So there are, how many problems? There are like 29 questions on the practice test because it's covering everything and giving you multiple things to practice on. So it wants to make sure. But remember, the practice test is a practice grade. It does not affect your semester grade in this class. If you make a 20% on the practice grade, it will not change your grade in this class. If you make 100%, it will not change your grade. The practice test is a tool for you. A tool for you. So what do I mean by that? So let me talk about that real quick, because we're gonna practice test it. When we have a practice test, this is great for you to go in, do the questions in the practice test, get you some pencil and paper, get your notes, because remember, you can use your notes on tests, you can use your notes on anything. I don't care. You can go back and look in the lessons for the test while you're taking the test. If you need to save and go back and look at that lesson because I forgot how to do that kind of problem, do that. If you want to go back and look at my class videos each week, do that. That's fine. But use the practice test. So if you take the practice test like, oh, I made an 88%. Now I think it's only worth like 10 points or a point. I mean, it's not worth it. But you see, you made like an 88%. You say, okay, so I just missed a few things. Let me go look what I missed. So you go back and look at the questions you missed and say, oh, I made a mistake. I forgot the negative, something. Okay, the ones I missed, I just made careless mistakes, but I understand them. I know how to do them. That means you're ready for the test, right? So I can go take the test because I took the practice test and I did okay. And I've looked at what I missed. I understand that now. Or maybe you missed a few. It wasn't just a careless mistake. You actually got it wrong because you didn't know what you were doing. But I've gone back and I've looked at that now. Now I know how to do those problems. So I'm ready to take the test. See, that's using it as a tool. Now, if you take the practice test, oh my gosh, I made a 57 on the practice test. 57%. I missed a lot. I probably need to go back and review more before I take the test. I'm not ready for the test. Because if you make a 57 on the practice test, you're not going to just have a wonderful shining grade on the test because it's the same material. It's the same type of problems on the test that there was in the practice test. So use the practice test to know how much do I need to study before I take the test? How much do I need to review before I take the test? Do I need to go back and watch the class videos just because I'm totally lost? Or do I just need to watch 5 minutes of one class video just to take this type of problem because I still don't understand that? Do I need to come to class Wednesday? It's a B day. We don't have class Friday this week. Do I need to come to class Wednesday and talk to Mr. Brock saying, okay, I'm confused about this. I did the practice test and I still don't know how to do this problem. Great. Come see me before you take the test then. Come see me. Use the practice test to figure out what you know and what you don't know. That's what it's for. Oh, I know how to do that. Great. I got that one right. I know how to do that. Know how to do that. Know how to do that. Oh, that one, I blew it and I don't know why. I thought I know what I was doing. So that's what the practice test is for. It's a tool for you to figure out what do you know and what do you need to review before you take the test. And yes, you can come to me and say, help me, Mr. Brock. I don't understand this. That's what I'm here for. So if you can't be in class Wednesday because you got an appointment or busy or whatever, email me and say, hey, can we pick a time and we'll schedule a time to meet. I'll say, yes, we will schedule a time and go over whatever you need to cover. So, because I want you to do well. I want you to feel good about taking the test because you feel confident. So that's what the practice test is for. Like I said, there's 29 questions. So after I'm going to leave. I'm not taking the practice test right now. So after we take the practice test, now let's look at the test. This is Module 1 test. Again, this is just an instruction page. There's nothing there. It just says, if you're not working constantly, your internet provider may kick you offline. You don't want to get kicked out of the test. So anyway, it says there's part 1 and part 2. So let's look at part 1. Oh, you have to do the practice test before it lets you do the test. So let me get the practice test. All right, so I do the practice test. Let's see, which solves for x. I would add 1 and divide by 6, etc. So anyway, I answer a bunch of practice test problems. So now that. All right, I obviously need to study more. I missed a lot on the practice test. But I want to be able to look at the test with you. So here, let's look at the test. We have part 1, multiple choice, and we have 10 problems. Just 10. Like I said, there's a lot more on the practice test. Because it's practice. So what do we have? Jack and Jill had 3 pails of water. Each trip up the hill, Jack and Jill got 1 more. Which graph represents that? So you may have different questions because there's a lot of different questions that the test chooses from. It randomly picks questions. So your questions may be different than the ones shown on the screen. But this is all about writing equations, point slope form. Write the equation of a horizontal line passing through this point. Write it in slope-intercept form. Goes through this point, has a slope of -1. Different questions like that. Solve f inverse of -4. We may look at one of those just as a practice problem before we leave here, because you're like, oh, I don't remember the inverse thing. I didn't do well on that one. Okay, we'll look at that. Here's a word problem. Solve for g of f of 0. Can you do g of f? All right, so there's 10 problems. 10 problems right there. And I think that is worth 50 points. And then part 2, let's look at part 2. It's worth 20 points. Should be 2 problems. Yeah, there's 2 problems. But with these, Nevaeh has created the function f of x equal 2x plus 4 over 3 to represent the growth of hair, where x is the number of months since our last haircut. She says, oh, if I use the inverse function and solve for x equals 8, I can predict when my hair's growing 8 inches. So you have to explain that. So you got to use words. You got to explain that. If you are writing an equation, by the way, because like when we have x, people put x squared, minus 3x plus 4, and it looks like that. Well, in Buzz, anytime you're having to type an equation, I want to point out this little button on the menu. Insert equation. Insert equation. It looks like a little plus and a minus and a check mark. Click on that, and it opens up this pop-up. So now if I type x squared minus 3x plus 4, it looks like that. Look at that. It looks so much better. That looks like a proper equation, especially doing something like 2x plus 4. Yeah, what you got, Jonathan?
Can you click back into the insert equation?
Yeah.
If you look at the bottom for insert symbol, if you don't know where the thing is on your keyboard, you can click that, and it has all of your symbols.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, there's lots of them here. Like if I'm going to do x squared, I can do this xy, and it uses that symbol. So I would say x squared, and there it shows up like it shows you what it's going to look like at the bottom, so you can tell if you're doing it right. But yes, thank you, Jonathan. Yeah, that's got a whole, but we can scroll down. There's a whole bunch of different symbols that you can use down here. So that is a good little shortcut. Even a square root, you can do a square root. So we'll say root yx, like root the third root of 27. Oh, no, I got to put a space in between there, I think. Third root of 27. See, that displays that. If I take off the x squared, root 327. So it shows the third root of 27. So yeah, this is a great thing. Thanks, Jonathan, for pointing that out. But there's the infinity symbol, so we can hit that. See, it shows us an infinity. All this kind of good stuff in there. So yeah, if you don't know how to type something, you can go down here to this little menu. There's just a square root right there, and all kinds of good stuff. So yeah, use that insert equation buttons to make it look like an equation, especially with something like this, 2x plus 4 divided by 3. Because if we go to, you got to put it in parentheses, if I want to say all that, divided by 3, that looks a lot different than if we went in here and said 2x plus 4 parentheses divided by 3. So now it actually displays it just like it does up here. So yeah, use the insert equation anytime we do an equation. Otherwise, you can just type whatever. But you can make things bigger. You can change the font size in here. Oh, well, the equation, it won't do that. But you can change the color. You can do all kinds of fun stuff with it. But the insert equation won't let you. It'll let me do it on this. So I can make that big. Any words, you can do that. Here's 4 functions. F of x, g of x, h of x, j of x. Boy, it's really put j of x table way up there. So you're supposed to compare and contrast these 4 functions. And there's the same graph just shown bigger, a larger look at the graph. So I just put it bigger because sometimes it's hard to see the points on the little one. So remember, when you compare and contrast, that means you need to give me the values. Don't just say f of x is steeper than g of x. No, you should say f of x has a slope of whatever. 5, g of x has a slope of 4, so f of x is steeper. But this tells you the things. be sure and give me the slopes of the 4 equations and the y-intercepts of the 4 equations. And then you can compare whether they're increasing or decreasing or any other properties that you notice. But at least make sure you have the slope and y-intercept. If you're missing those, you're going to be missing points. That's the bare minimum. It says the slopes of each of the 4 and the y-intercept of each of the 4. And if you know how to do that, I was just looking this morning. I've got this. I'm going to put this in Buzz. I took this practice test. There's the 1.07 Module 1 review and practice test. I did this, and I have a 40-minute video taking the whole practice test, and it'll have sample problems of all these things you see on the test. So if you find the practice problem, like, oh, I need to go look at number 24 in the practice problem, you can go to this video. If you just need to forward to 24, there's no need to watch all 40 minutes. If you know how to do a lot of these problems, you don't have to watch me do it. You can skip that. Where's problem 24? Let's see. Am I close to 24? Okay. That's 22. I'm almost to problem 24. There's 24. So if I just want to watch problem 24, I just fast forward and I just watch how to do that. And look, I'm explaining the whole problem in this video. I work it out on paper. I write notes. I tell you step by step what I'm doing. So if you're struggling with the practice test, you can go watch me take the practice test and go. Your problem may be a little different. Maybe your table doesn't have these numbers, but it's the same type of problem. It still works the same way. So watching me do it and then doing it on your own should be very similar. You may just have different numbers that you work with compared to what I'm working with. So I'm getting all the way to that. Okay, got to the end of that. So hopefully that's all there. But this, I didn't make that this year. This is a previous year, but it should be the same practice test. Same practice test. So I'm going to put that in Buzz this morning right after class so that it is available for you to see that. Okay, so that's what we have this week. Now, I said we wanted to look at one of these inverse problems real quick because let's review a little bit. So if we had a problem like, let's see, they had f of x, and we'll just make up our own, 2x minus 1 over 5. And it said find f of negative 1 of 3. We'll just make that up. It wants us to find this. So that means two things. First, we need to find the inverse. We need to find the inverse of this function. So remember how to do that. First, step 1, change this to y equals. Step 2, swap the x and y. X equals 2y minus 1 divided by 5. Step 3, solve for y. So let's see, multiply by 5 first to get rid of the fraction. So that's 5x equals 2y minus 1. See, I multiplied by 5. I'm still trying to get the y by itself, so I add 1 to both sides. 5x plus 1 equals 2y divided by 2. So y equals 5x plus 1 divided by 2. And then step 4, put it back in function notation. The inverse of this function is 5x plus 1 divided by 2. Now I want to find f inverse of 3. Look, now I've got it. Instead of an x, I want a 3. So that would be 5 times 3 plus 1 divided by 2. All I did was replace the x with the 3 because that's what it said to do. So this equals 15 plus 1 divided by 2, which equals 16 divided by 2. So it equals 8. So that's what f of 1 of 3 equals 8. So that's just a review of how to do that. Let's review the f of g of x. So let's say the f of x equaled x squared minus 3, g of x equaled 2x. If it said find f of g of x, that means in wherever the x is, I'm going to swap in g of x. And this is what g of x equals. So that means I'm going to take f of g of x equals, instead of x, I'm going to put 2x because that's what g of x equals, squared minus 3. So now I need to square that, 4x squared minus 3. That's what f of g of x equals. Because I just take whatever g of x is and substitute it in for the f of x. Remember, it might have g of f of x, which means you take this and substitute it in there. Right? Whichever one's on the inside is the one you're going to take and substitute into the other one. So that's a little review. But again, I'm going to have the practice test available for you. I'm going to put that in Buzz. So that's available for you to watch whenever you want to. But take the practice test, figure out what you know and what you don't know. Hey, I know how to do all these first 10, and then I had trouble for a couple of problems, and then I knew how to do the other ones. So let's focus on those couple of problems before we take the test. So you can go back and watch me do those problems in the practice test. You can go back and look at the class videos. You can go back and look at the lessons for those problems. Any of all that, you can come visit with me. Mr. Brock, I don't get this. All of that, because I want you to be successful. I want you to take the test and feel good. I know how to do all of this and come away with the grade that you want on the test. So, all right, guys, I'm not going to keep you in class. If you want to start the practice test, I'm going to give you time here to do that. So you've got an hour before your next class meets. So that way you've got time to start on the practice test or maybe even finish it if you've got it down and going well. So got any questions, hang around. I'm happy to help you with anything. But otherwise, have a great week. We'll have class Wednesday for those who have to be here.